Motivation. My name is Steve Stine from Guitar Zoom, and we'll wait for just a few people to show up here. What we're going to be talking about today is warming up, and by warming up, what we're going to talk about is some stretching things and stuff like that. I get a lot of questions about what it is that I do when I warm up. Now, whether it's for a practice session or whether it's for a performance, it's a little bit different depending on which one it is, but we'll talk about that. So we'll just give everybody a little bit for the stream to hit everybody, and we'll go from there. Hey, it's A. Manilow, and Ronald is here. Awesome. Jeff is here. Hey, Jeff. Hey, Bob. Joe is here. Very nice. Thank you, Joe. Jimmy is here. Cool. All right. Now we got all kinds of people. Carl is here. Sergey is here. RJ, Jimmy, James. Hey, everybody. So nice to see you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm doing great. Thank you. So what we're going to do today is just for a little bit, I want to talk to you about warming up. Now, when I was a kid, I was in track and I was in football and things like that. And warming up was something that seemed like a waste of time. When you get older, you start realizing had you warmed up more, you probably wouldn't have as many bodily injury issues as you have when you get older, like me. So what I want to talk to you about today, hey everybody, hey Juan, hey Duke, hey Chris, hey Denton. Worship Guitar Dictionary is here, very nice. Aaron is here. So what I want to talk to you about is being 50, which I am right now, and what it's like to play, okay? When I first go to play for the day, now I am blessed with being able to play in the morning, right? I mean, this is what I do for a living. Where some people, you go to work and you have to do all your stuff before you can grab a guitar and do your thing. And what I have found is when I do have a lot of stuff, maybe it's the weekend and I've got a lot of projects to do or something like that, what I find is some of the stretches I'm going to show you are really crucial because, when you do a lot of work and your forearms are really sore, your wrists are really sore. I used to do construction when I was younger, and it was really hard for me. I wasn't cut out for that. Accolades to anybody who does really, really hard work like that. That was tough for me. I used to do roofing for a while, and it was really difficult. So what I want to talk to you about is exactly that today. So what I have found, and let's just talk about it from a practice perspective, and then we'll move a little bit more into the performance perspective. But what I do, there's a number of exercises, and for many of you know that I had carpal tunnel surgery on both of my hands when I was younger. And so some of the exercises that I came up with were given to me from the doctor that I had, and I've just kept them ever since then. So the first thing that I always do are things like this. So again, you can watch this when you have more time if you don't have time for this, but this is one of the most important ones for me, is that you put your palms together like this, and then you bring your hands down like this, okay? Just like that. And when you do this, if you haven't really done this before, what you're going to feel is you're going to feel a pull down here. Now, I want to say this before I talk about anything else. If you try and do something like this and it's painful, you need to be careful, okay? I remember, people having injuries from, you can buy these grip things and you use these grips to try and build strength in your fingers. And I remember hearing horror stories from people that were using these things and, wound up, messing up their tendons. So I just need you to be careful, okay? So if you think about it, when you're doing this, okay, what I'm doing is I'm bringing this down. I don't have it way up here, okay? What I'm trying to do is put this so it's level, okay, just like this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press out one direction or the other. And what I want to do is I want to press straight out. I don't want to press with my elbow coming up. This is one of my favorite stretches by far. Okay, so I put this together like this. And then what I do is I press straight out like this. Not up in the air, but straight out. And what you're going to feel is a stretch all the way like this. Okay? So if you've never done this before, this is a wonderful stretch, and it's not that you have to go really far with it. You'll feel it when you do it right, and that's the most important thing about stretching and exercising and really technique all the way around, is making sure that you're doing it the right way. Okay, so I'm stretching and I'm pushing straight out like this. Okay, and then what I do is go the other direction, press straight out like this, and this is just absolutely, like I said, one of my favorite stretches is this one. Okay, then what you can do is you can take this and you can actually go down like this, okay? So notice how I'm going down past this straight line here. I'm just going down. I'm not pushing out or anything. I'm just going down, but I'm keeping these together like this, okay? So that's another thing that you can do just to kind of pull. You're going to feel that more like in the shoulders, that sort of thing. Okay? Can you pray when you do it? Of course you can. Pray that you don't hurt yourself. Okay? So when you're doing that, okay, now the next thing you can do is you can take that idea and you can flip it upside down. Okay? Now you're not pushing out or anything like that. What you're going to do is you're going to try and take this and keep those together, and you're going to try and move it a little bit closer to your chin. Okay? Now again, you're going to feel some pull right here. And that's what this whole thing is about, is just stretching out. When I go to practice, or especially for a performance, the most important thing is getting, the circulation, get the blood flowing, because everything feels better when you do that. Hey, Giuseppe. So yeah, it's really important to do this sort of thing. So I'm pulling up, okay? Again, not painfully, just pulling up towards my chin like this, okay? Keeping those together. Another thing that's really great to do, which is really easy, is you just take your hands and you're going to stretch them backward like this and go like this. Just back like this. And you can pump a little bit like this if you want to, and that's fine. But the goal is to keep those wrists stretched backwards like this. How long do I do these for? Well, it kind of depends. A lot of times it's just a daily routine for me to grab and do, so I don't really count. But, 20, 30 seconds is usually pretty good for these, although I do a lot of this stuff throughout the day. I'm kind of fidgety the way it is, so it's hard for me to sit. So a lot of times if I'm sitting watching TV, I'll do, this is another one I'll show you too, but I'll do a lot of these things as I'm just sitting around, or, if I'm sitting with friends or whatever. This is the kind of stuff I tend to do. Dave Lindsay, I see you, Dave Lindsay. Hello. So another thing I love to do is I take that same idea, but this time what I do is I pull my fingers backward like this. Okay? So I'm pulling them back toward my elbow. Okay? Like that. And I could even turn my wrist a little bit toward me and pull a little bit that way as well. These are really good ones, again, for trying to stretch out all of this forearm stuff here, okay? So this is a good one to do. Just different kinds of things like this. Hello, Tom. Do I ever have back pain when I play standing up, Dovla says. No, I have back pain because I'm 50 years old. So I don't really have back pain when I play standing up relative to the guitar. It's just, this is what happens. So when I get older. But anyway, so I'm doing these things. This is another really good one. What I left off on was this one. So this one's a really good one. It's just stretching out like this. Okay? Some typical things that you can do would be, grabbing the elbow and pulling it. These are really good for the shoulder, right? Just things like this. You might go over your head. Hey, Lori. Like that, right? Just over your shoulders like that. Might mess up your hair, but you'll be okay. All right, so different kinds of things like that. Another one, obviously, is just the neck, right? Stretching out the neck, things like that. I'm not standing up, but if I was standing up, like before a performance, I do a lot of just simply touching my toes with my hands, okay? Doing a lot of that kind of stuff, bending. But one that I'd love to show you, but I don't have a wall here, but one that I really love to do is that you go against a wall, and I'll just use kind of the edge of the screen as this. So you go against the wall like this, and what you do is you put your hand against there, and then you just slowly push downward a little bit. Now again, think that my hand would be straight against that wall, right? So as I go down a little bit like this, as my hand comes down, I'm gonna feel this stretching here, and I can flip my hand over and I can do the same thing on the wall going up. And this is something that I do a lot, okay? So just think about these kind of things when you're getting ready to practice. We always talk about like legato exercises, and I'm sure you've seen me do videos on that sort of thing too. Jason says, I wish I had hair to mess up. Yeah, well, yeah. I was born short, so God blessed me with hair, so that's what I got. But anyway, these sorts of things are really important to be able to do. Now, when I'm sitting around, another thing that I love to do, I showed you some of these things, which I do all the time. But another one that I'll do is I'll take my hand and I'll put them in between my fingers like this, okay? And then I'll stretch out my fingers, and I do this all the time. Okay, so I'll go in between each group of fingers and I'll just stretch those out, okay? So on both hands like this, okay? Although I tend to do it more on the hand that's doing the fretting, right? Hey, Chrisone. Hey, Rob. Rob said, I've had multiple hand surgeries in my fretting hand over the past years, and the first stretch you showed me really helped. So that's awesome. Yeah, these are really good things to do. So I'll do these. The other thing I'll do, of course, is just individual fingers Like I start with the bigger stretches and then I start moving in with these. And these are things that I just kind of do all throughout the day. Okay. If you take and squeeze the tips of your fingers, you can get blood flow to those. Living in North Dakota, as Lori knows, we deal with, right now it's 100 degrees outside with, 100% humidity. And then in the wintertime, it's 50 or 60 below zero. So, it's tough both ways. And when it's really, really hot, of course, your fingers and your hands and your feet swell and all that sort of thing. And when it's really, really cold, there's no circulation. So, playing gigs and things like that, let's talk about performance just a little bit. I always bring a little portable space heater. And then what I do is when I'm warming up backstage, I'll do all these exercises I'm showing you. But the other thing that I do is that if possible, I run my forearms, my hands and my forearms underneath very, very, very very, very, very warm water. Okay, I'm not scalding myself. I'm not burning myself, obviously, but I like to have the water as warm as I can and still have it comfortable. So I'll run my hands and my forearms underneath that water before a performance. If I have that capability, most places that we play, there'll be something like that I can use. And then I'll have a little space heater backstage by my amp that I can just warm up my hands as needed until, the room starts warming up and all that sort of thing. So those are things that I do a lot. And running, like now it's really, really hot outside, so I'm not running my hands under warm water. But in the wintertime, I do that 10 times a day. I'll do that. Okay? So hopefully that kind of makes sense of some things that you can do. I know I kind of run through those a little quick there, but just so you've got some ideas of some things that you can do to try and warm up your hands before a practice session. Not just your hands, but think about it. It's from basically your neck, your shoulders, your forearms, your hands, all the stuff you're trying to stretch out as needed. So these, are really good for your shoulders, moving your neck around, that sort of thing. Don't forget about that stuff too, because it isn't just your forearms. You want to stretch out all of that kind of stuff. Then you grab your guitar and start doing some of the other things that we've talked about before, where you might, like for me, the first thing I'll do is grab the guitar and I'll start just doing some legato exercises. I don't need the guitar plugged in, any of that. I'm just trying to get my fingers warmed up. So I'm doing a bunch of different exercises with things like that. And then I'll do some picking exercises where I'm just trying to get, I'm picking a string and just kind of trying to get, again, warmed up. But at this point, I'm not only warming up my fingers, I'm making a connection to my brain, right? I'm trying to get my fingers and my brain to start kind of working together slowly as I play. And this is what I call pre-practice once you get to this thing, once you start playing. Before, some days are great, but some days suck. Like anybody else, some days you grab the guitar and you go, did I forget how to play, right? So that pre-practice element is very important for me, is just getting my hands and my brain and the synchronization of my hands kind of going. And sometimes I'll use a metronome for that. Sometimes I use songs for that. Like I grew up playing a billion songs, being a teacher, being a player, being a performer. So for songs for me are in one category enjoyable to listen to, but in another category, I very much use songs to propel certain elements of things that I want to work on. So if I want to work on warming up, I've got various songs that I can use for picking or for legato or for scale use or different kinds of things like that. And you can do the same thing. If you have Spotify or Apple Music or whatever it might be, once we get past the whole, the artist isn't getting the pay, I get all that. But from a practice perspective, we can use those elements like Spotify or Apple Music or, Tidal or whatever it is you might use. Like a metronome, we can use those as practice tools to practice songs that we enjoy. Maybe it motivates us, because we enjoy the song, and maybe we've got those songs, we use certain things for down picking, or we use certain things for a particular scale or alternate picking, or again, sweeping, or whatever it might be, right? So you can use the music that you like to warm up with as well. Maybe you've got some songs that are really, really hard to play. Well, maybe those aren't your warm-up songs. Maybe your warm-up songs are things that you can play. Maybe they're a little challenging or whatever, but they kind of get you in the zone. That's what you're looking for. Okay? So hopefully that makes sense to you. A few different exercises that you can work on for this week and hopefully for the rest of your life. Some stretching exercises, things like that to avoid, and again, the whole point of all of this is to avoid injury and to get you into a warmed up zone to grab your guitar and have some fun. So always be careful and always think about that. If you're trying to do something and it feels really painful, you need to reassess what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with massaging your forearms, things like that, trying, like, again, pinching the tips of your fingers, things like that. Anything like this that you can do. I remember going to a massage therapist one time, and they have this whole routine of things, and I'm like, I don't want any of that. Thank you, and I'm paying you, but all I really want you to do is just massage my hands and my forearms, and I'm sure it's not beneficial in the way that you're thinking, but from me being a guitar player and this thing here, it feels wonderful just to, massage my hands and my forearms for a half an hour. I would love it. So, she's like, okay. So, but it was wonderful. So anyway, those are things that you can do as well. So hopefully that helps everybody. Have a wonderful week. Stay positive, and I'll talk to you next Monday, okay? So remember, if you need any help with guitar stuff, obviously subscribe to whatever channel you're on, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that. And you can always head over to guitarzoom.com and check out my guitar courses and the membership that we offer as well. So take care.